Good morning. It's Friday, April 24th, 2015. This is Tech Talk Today, episode 163. My name is Chris.
And I am Q5Sis.
Hello, Mr. Sis. Welcome to Tech Talk Today. It's good to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And a little pro tip for all of you that want to be like the ultimate traveler. You just connect with Mr. Q5Sis in the chat room. He'll give you a few tips. This guy shows up. Did you even step into the car with a bag?
Yeah, I had one bag. It's my it's actually a helicopter travel pack. So the entire thing will zip apart and lay flat open, which is great for the TSA because you don't actually have to take anything out of your bag.
Right,
you just disassemble your bag basically.
Yeah.
So I had that. That was it. But it's small. It fits basically a laptop.
We didn't even have to pop the trunk when you got off there.
Just sat down in the seat and we're ready to go.
And then you shipped the rest of the stuff.
Yes, because it was actually cheaper to ship stuff than to have a checked bag at the airport.
You got it down. It's a pretty quick way to travel.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's USPS, it's insured.
Yeah.
So if they lose it, hey, I just made a little extra money.
And you get new stuff if you want it. All right, well, we've got a lot to cover today, but first, it is right up to the wire, Linux Fest Northwest. We have been scrambling like crazy, getting things ready. Of course, as something like this, whenever you're getting ready for something like this, something always has like a last minute like snafu that always has to be fixed. And so we've had one of those about every day.
Yeah, pretty much about one a day.
Yeah, and last night's was a doozy, where we discovered that the rig that we kind of had to go to our backup rig for streaming, not the first machine we had chosen to use, but one that we were ready to use because it's Linux based, and we're kind of excited to try using a Linux based streaming solution at Linux Fest. So that seemed like okay, silver lining at least.
Wasn't it kind of like a backup of our backup rig?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. And of course, as fate would have it, the motherboard or the CPU, we're not sure, was dead. Something wasn't working, wouldn't post. And our backup of the backup is lying in pieces on the floor Thursday before we have to drive up, the Friday before we have to drive up and assemble. Now, normally, this would be something that would probably give you ulcers, but there's probably literally not a better team on the planet to handle this kind of situation because we have like all of the production elements covered. We've got all of the technical assembly elements covered. We've got Alan here who's got the world's knowledge of live video streaming and Scale Engine. So like he's got both ends of that covered. And so we set out to Fry's and we made a trip. Alan, before I go any further, are you ready for me to play the intro video?
Good.
Yeah, okay. So here's Alan and I in the back of Noah's rental car driving down to Fry's. But they took a picture instead. Hello, my name is Chris, and this is Alan Jude. Hi, Alan Jude.
And over there is Snap on the go.
There, yeah. This is kind of a neat shot too. Yeah. Boy, but Q5 looks really cranky, so let's take him out of the shot. So here we are. We're in a car in the back of Noah's rental
about to die.
Yep. And we are on our way down to Fry's. Now, what's important for you to know is it's Thursday. Hey, what time is it?
At the traffic light.
It's 6:12.
6:13.
It's 6:13 p.m. on a Thursday. We just got done recording TechSnap. I think it was a pretty good show.
Double TechSnap.
Yeah, pretty good. And here's what you need to know though: is tomorrow we're setting up for Linux Fest up in Bellingham, and tomorrow's Friday. And
that's today.
Right now we're driving down to Fry's to buy a motherboard
because the one in the broadcasting machine is not working.
We don't have a streaming computer, and it's Thursday. Before Linux Fest.
Good.
So we're driving down to Fry's hoping we can find a motherboard, RAM, and a processor that we can slam into a case, reload Linux, and then get it working with OBS and all of the hardware like the USB devices and audio devices.
Hey Chris, who do you think's going to do all that?
Quarter-mile.
What's that, Noah?
Who do you think will do all of that? Reloading and getting all that?
Some amazing... What's that?
He's not looking at the road.
Yeah, this is Noah. Yeah.
How about you watch the road?
Some amazing hero that ends up relying on Rekai, probably. I love that we got a Rekai plug in there. So I'll let that video is posted to the Patreon activity feed if you're a Tech Talk Today patron and want to watch the full video. So we set off. Now we got back here. We got a motherboard. We got a CPU. We got an MSATA, and we had a mission. And Noah started assembling the rig, and you, Mr. Sis, and Alan and Rekai were here. I went off to bed because I really hit the wall yesterday after double tech snaps and stuff. I was cooked.
Yeah.
And so I went home and ended up not even falling asleep till 2 a.m. because of stuff going on at home. But that's a whole other story. So what happened after I left? Where did it go from here?
I think it would be more appropriate to say what didn't happen once you left.
What?
So we started building the computer. Building the computer is pretty much straightforward, usually.
Yep. Unless you're Noah.
Unless you're Noah, and unless you decide to go with one of those new M2 SATAs.
Yeah.
Which Well, some of them are SATA
Well, the
electrically.
first one. Well, before we get to that part, the first thing he does is he tries to install it, and he uses the standoff screw that's supposed to hold it level as the screw, and so he's like got it slightly bent and
this,
stuck.
This Asus motherboard we got has like a connector to put an MSATA.
Yeah, M2.SATA.
Yeah, so you can have really fast.
So basically, it's a mini SSD that plugs right into the motherboard. But when you plugged it in, there's supposed to be a standoff screw, and then you plug this in and set it on top of that standoff, and then screw it down.
Okay.
With the screw into the standoff.
Okay.
But he put it flat against the motherboard and screwed it down with the standoff screw.
Yeah.
So
that got stuck in
there. A pair of like pliers and nail clippers to try to get it off of there. Thank you.
Poor guy.
Q5 Sys saved the day there.
Yeah, I got with the tweezers.
And then, yeah. And then we, as we were assembling the machine and routing all the cables, I was like, so Noah, did you hook up all the power to all the hard drives? And he's like, yes. And then we booted up and like, well, 3 of the hard drives aren't being seen. And then I look and there's no power. I'm like, what? And we finally get all that. And so, all right, so we see 6 hard drives.
In his defense, I had unplugged them.
Yeah.
No, we unplugged everything and reran all the cables because it was a mess.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we're still missing a hard drive. We don't see the MSATA. And then so Q5 and Rakai are researching and finding out that for these M2 SATAs, there's actually 2 different kinds. There's a PCI kind that acts as as if it was a PCI card and a PCI slot, or the SATA kind, which requires the motherboard to actually have a SATA controller sitting on this M2 SATA port, which this one apparently doesn't. And so we might have bought the wrong kind of M2 SATA.
Sounds like so we didn't need to get that SATA.
Well, for 2 things. A, the only thing that says SATA on the box is very tiny print in light gray font.
And there was no documentation.
And also, should the guy at Fry's not have known that those 2 things wouldn't go together?
That whole, you guys know, that whole experience for me was very frustrating. I have a very hard time with Fry's. I am always extremely disappointed every time I go.
The way I look at it is,
I miss my local computer store, and
This is actually, I think, the motherboard this is the motherboard we got, isn't it?
Yeah, it does look like it.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of stood out to me is you're a tech store and you don't know how to divide by 3.
Yeah. So
it was because of the process we went through, right? Where we went to the back, got the thing, and they created this invoice.
Because that,
we took it to the front, and they took out the stuff. And they're like, well, you have to go back to the back and create 3 separate invoices.
So we're back there, and they have like all the motherboards up on the wall, and you're supposed to look at this and pick out which one you want. Of course, the real motherboard you want is not actually up on the wall; it's just in a box on the shelf somewhere. So we find that, and then we find the best processor we get. It's about a 10-minute process with this guy, and his English isn't great, but it's passable. And then meanwhile, another customer walks up and just completely interrupts, and the guy just starts working on that other customer. So we stand around for a while. We're like, come on, we just want to get the parts and go home because we're getting hangry because we're hungry and it's getting late. And I already was like, I need to eat.
We're all standing there in front of him with the credit cards in our hands.
Yeah.
And then there's like, oh, here's this piece of paper. Take it up to the front, and then maybe they'll give you some stuff.
So we go up to the front and we wait in line. Of course, they got like 15, 30, whatever checkouts. And then so the guy has
literally, I've never seen 30 bloody checkouts, and there's like 2 open.
So the guy has to usher you to the right checkout place. And I get up there, and this kid's... he looks over the order and he steps away, go gets parts, and he comes back, he looks at the order again, he steps away and go get some more parts, and he starts ringing it up, and it's a pretty big bill. And I say, actually, we wanted to split this up. I wanted to order this, he's going to buy this, and he's going to buy that. And the kid looks at me and says, you can't do that. What do you mean? So I can't split this up into 3 orders.
This is one order. You fill it one big invoice.
Yeah, you can't split this up into 3 orders. I mean, and I kind of just was like, are you telling me Fry's Electronics that has all these computers, all this technology, got all these computers, these registers, these computers can't divide by 3? That doesn't seem possible. And
we actually got him to divide it by 3, which actually probably worked out better than,
we got him to split it 3
I'll buy
ways.
the processor, you buy the motherboard, because
so
they were all different.
So it was really nice because the guys chipped in on some of the prices, and so that helped with the cost of sort of a last minute motherboard and CPU purchase like that, which was great. Because things have been getting tight as we get, there's always kinds of surprise expenses that come up.
Exactly.
So now we have an Ubuntu 14.04 rig with open broadcast software on there, the OBS software.
There's a much longer story to that part.
Oh, really?
Right. So we get the machine together and get it booting, and we've given up on the MSATA. But, we got 3 SSDs, all of different sizes, and 3 spinning drives of various sizes. And we grab the Ubuntu Mate installer off a USB stick and jack it in and boot it up. And we go to do the install, and we get it all installed, reboot into it, and we get all the OBS software installed.
Yeah.
Noah tries it out with the mixer and multiple cameras, and we're switching cameras and broadcasting audio. And we're like, great.
And they're connecting to Scale Engine?
Yep. And I'm watching it from across the room off the live stream. And then we're like, okay, now we want to create LVMs on the 3 SSDs for us to record to, and on the spinning drives for us to move the recordings to when we're done recording in between sections or whatever.
Perfect.
So like this will be great. And Noah installs the disks utility, which is got a really weird name in Ubuntu. And first of all, I expect it more to be like gparted, where you make a list of changes and then you hit apply once you're sure you want to do it. But apparently this disk utility lets you just edit stuff live real time. And so the first thing Noah does is delete the partition with the install we just finished on it from the SSD.
Nice. And what time is this at?
This is like 1 a.m. in the morning already.
Yeah, probably about 1.
We're crashing. And,
no!
And
Did you guys crap yourselves? Like, what happened? Were you like...
No, it was really funny. Because Noah restarted the system.
Giggling.
Yeah, Noah restarted the system, and it didn't restart.
And the Mac logo comes up.
Yeah, Mac logo comes up, and he's like, huh, that's weird. So then he restarts it again, and same thing happens.
A Mac logo, because it used to be a Hackintosh a long time ago.
Yeah, 'cause the 2 of the 3 of the hard drives have HFS partitions on them still.
So he keeps rebooting it and trying to change drives, thinking, oh, well, it's that other drive. Oh, it's that other drive. Oh, it's that.
No, the C300 is the one we did.
All of them.
Yeah, and he's a little loopy at this point.
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah, I think I just deleted everything we did.
Oh, I deleted everything.
Yeah, just accidentally. Oh, my God.
Yeah. So we fire up the installer again and try again. And now it gives us an error when we try to do the grub install on the partition. So we've installed the OS, but there's no bootloader because it's trying to write the bootloader to SDA.
Yeah.
And we actually want to install to SDE.
Naturally.
And
of course you do.
And it is all fucked up. And so then I try to run the grub install manually from the terminal, and it's like, error, cannot determine the canonical path of /cow.
Yeah, this is... So I gotta find this.
The fuck?
I gotta find this, because this is a real error message you guys got.
Yes. So what it turns out is that the virtual device name or whatever of the USB stick is cow. And it's mounted as /, and it can't figure, for whatever reason, they can't figure out they can't find the correct device name that actually points to this /cow partition or something.
Oops, I zoomed in too far. So if you're looking at the video version right now, producer Q5 says tweeted out the screenshot where it says grub install error failed to get canonical path of /cow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And we had a giggle about that, and he was tweeting at people about it. And
yeah, because when it's 2 a.m. and you haven't had much sleep, /cow is a whole lot funnier than you think it is.
Yeah. It doesn't sound funny right now. Yeah. But last night it was freaking hilarious. We practically had tears coming out of our eyes, laughing so hard at that.
Oh man, I bet. Oh jeez, yeah.
Well, that explains the noise.
And then, so then I figure, all right, the problem is when we're doing grub install on, so the install's done, but grub's not working. So when we try to boot, it's just sitting at a blank screen after the BIOS.
Gosh.
So we boot off the USB stick as a live CD and try to do the grub install, and we get the /cow error. Then I get the right idea. I chroot. I mount the installed partition to /mnt and chroot into it. So now we can run grub install and actually have it target the right hard drive. But it gives an error. You can't find the device because the /dev is a virtual file system, and so then I quickly figure out how to mount that on Linux because it's different than on BSD because we call it devfs instead of devtempfs. Whatever. Anyway, get that working. Do it, and then it spits out a whole bunch of errors, and then at the end of that says installation completed without errors.
Love it. That's my favorite.
And we reboot, and we get a grub console. Because there's no grub.conf, because the installer decided not to create one because the grub install command failed or whatever. And then we reboot, and the live CD or live boot image USB won't work anymore.
Yeah.
So we image that from his laptop and boot again.
Oh my gosh.
And try the install again and get partition errors again, and because it tries to
ready
write
to
to
throw in the
SDA. It tries to write to SDA instead of SDE again. It turns out SDA is the live CD, so it's breaking the live CD every time we try to do the live USB stick every time we're trying to do the install.
Oh no!
So then we tear the machine apart and reroute the cables so that the hard drive we want will be SDA.
Yeah.
We move it to a different SATA port, so it will be the first device.
Yeah.
And then it was 3 a.m. and Noah's like, "Do you want to go back to the hotel?" I'm like, "Yes." But then he came back here and worked on it and got the install working once now that the hard drive we wanted was SDA. God. So it seems like the Ubuntu Mate installer assumes when you're doing an install that you always want to write the boot sector to the first device, which in our case was not the case because, in the BIOS you could tell it which drive to boot off of, and that's what we were trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, there were a couple times where we wanted to throw in the towel, but then we kind of looked at it practically and realized that Okay,
We're
so
like 4 minutes
tomorrow
away from having
we
this
have
working.
to set this up.
Yeah.
In Bellingham,
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
and it has to be done by then because
Yeah.
Saturday morning it's go time.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
really tired. We want to go to bed.
Yeah.
But we don't have the option to because otherwise we're going to get to Northwest and it's just going to be like a static symbol that we're going to be streaming that says
but-
"Sorry, under construction."
You know what's funny is in all of this though, I'm surprised nobody said why don't we just do an audio stream?
Yeah, definitely
my
not.
God,
That's
you
not
guys.
even an option.
I
Not
know.
even an option.
No.
But so the craziest thing is we're sitting here in the studio working on stuff, and both Noah and I are complaining. You know, if we were at my house at my workbench, we'd have all these tools, all the
have
spare
all my
parts.
stuff,
We wouldn't have had to buy anything. We literally could have salvaged machines and fixed it. And then we're just looking at and we would have had a pair of pliers when we needed them.
It's a studio.
And
It's
then we're
not
thinking
a shop.
if right, but then we're like, if we were trying to do this at Linux Fest, we'd be even worse off.
Oh, gosh.
So we got to get
Yeah.
this working here,
Yeah, no kidding.
and we did, and it's good to go, and we have shot switching under Linux and everything.
Wow.
Although there was a point where we were half considering installing PCBSD and seeing if OBS works under that, just because it would have freaking booted for us.
Wow, what a
Because at the one point when we had just the grub prompt, I manually typed in the grub command line prompt stuff to load the kernel and the initrd RAM disk thing and boot the system. Because I happen to know how to do that because that's how you boot Linux in Beehive. With a modified version of grub that runs in userland on the host.
yeah.
But I forgot to specify which partition to mount as root because I forgot that Linux, you have to tell it, whereas on FreeBSD, it's like, well, the drive you've loaded the kernel off of, that's probably where you want to get the root file system from by default. But on Linux, there's no default, apparently. I don't know the history. Anyway, so it half boots and then stalls on us because it can't find the root partition. And it was like, so close, but so far away.
Well, we put Ubuntu 14.04 on there, but it is official. Ubuntu 15.04 is released. This is the first version of Ubuntu that ships with systemd as a replacement for Upstart.
The thing I found funny about that is they didn't switch to systemd until like 2 weeks before the release.
Well, they were doing like a transition, and they have
but the transition was let's do it right before the release. Was just to my release engineering mind that just seems
Sounds
like
scary.
the worst possible thing. No, I think they did doing testing and stuff outside of the main repo or whatever. But the other interesting one was so if you had installed one of the release candidates or betas or whatever they call them, you got switched to systemd via a package update.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I would be afraid of that.
It actually worked out pretty okay, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. So it also ships with Unity 7.3 with a lot of small enhancements, kernel 3.19.3, which is all patched up by Canonical, and of course an update to all your favorite apps. Anything jump out at you about 15.04, Mr. Sis?
Not really.
Yeah. You know which one the flavor I'm the most excited about is Mate. Even though there's not a lot new about GNOME 2, the Ubuntu Mate project has put a lot of nice little refinements. Like they have the Mate menu now. They have the folder colors. They have all these little things and the layout customizer.
Do you know what else they have?
What?
They have a bug in their installer.
Well, but
that writes the boot stuff to the wrong.
I don't know if the
frickin'
15.04
device.
version does, but it probably does.
Right.
But congrats.
Yeah, this actually is the first time I've actually seen Mate, like physical with my own eyes.
That is right there too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So these two,
Yeah.
which is this year.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen it actually, and I mean it is really slick.
Yeah, it's very fast. I was really when I loaded on my main rig upstairs first before I went to GNOME 3 again, and I was like I almost couldn't give up the speed. I was hooked quick. Hey, I didn't expect this. I'm going to admit I didn't expect it, but it looks like the Comcast Time Warner merger is off. This does seem like a good thing. This is a post from the Comcast website. They're calling it off, and it looks like a big part of it is the dialogue changed around the conversation of net neutrality. And once the focus around net neutrality shifted, the Comcast deal kind of sunk. And I wonder if that was some masterful stroke of somebody. I mean, it seems like no coincidence that the net neutrality debate got to a whole fever pitch right after the Comcast a merger was announced.
Yeah.
And
it was part of the problem. The Comcast giving Comcast even more control would let them, bend people like Netflix over the barrel harder.
Yeah. So, boy, and we definitely need more competition in broadband in the U.S. Here's a story that's developing that I'm going to.
Can I interrupt you right there?
Yeah.
Speaking of broadband, there's this company called Ting. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
That's
rolling
doing
it out.
broadband.
Yeah.
In Maryland, 40 minutes from my house. I'm just outside. And I'm like, oh.
Fiber internet, too.
I know.
Oh, man. I just got my fiber internet upgraded at my house, and it's supposed to be 150, and I haven't been able to break 90 yet. You know, I mean, it's first world problem, but you're paying for one thing. It's kind of annoying.
Right.
But that sucks when you're right out there. This studio is like 1 block from the fiber too.
That stinks.
Yeah, if you go down there, one of their main fiber buildings for this area is down there. It's like, come on, guys, just run it down.
Yeah, I'll go buy the cable.
Yeah. I'll dig. All right, I don't know what to make.
I was lucky I didn't have to dig. They ran it up on
this
telephone
guy.
poles. They
This
had
guy
like
literally
6 or 7 telephone poles to get from the fiber node to my house.
This guy's like his own freaking ISP.
Yeah.
And
it also costs more than like all of Chris's mortgages added together.
Yeah,
All of Chris's mortgages added together.
It is. He really pays for it, but it's part of the business. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what to make of this story. I'm still watching to see if they can see some more reports, but the Pentagon says that Russian hackers have broken their defenses, and they say the risk. This is the headline from Reuters. The global risk is growing for cyber war. That doctrine
So what I don't understand is why the Pentagon has anything sensitive the Russians might want on the internet instead of not connected to the internet.
Yeah,
well, I actually
using
watched
the internal government secure network.
Oh yeah,
I actually watched the stream yesterday.
Yeah.
And he came out and he said, this hasn't ever been released, but I'm gonna say it now as an example. It was that someone got in. It was to the non-classified internet, so it wasn't CIPRNet.
Right.
And it was through a legacy system that was still on, that had just been running. So it wasn't anything.
We talked about this before in TechSnet. It's like you have to keep a control over what machines actually exist on your network. You have to know what machines you have,
right?
So you can find that old legacy machine that nobody even realizes is running. It reminds me of this story of this company that couldn't find the servers because somebody had put it up in the drop ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
In the office, nobody even knew it was there.
Yeah, so they found it. They then got it offline, and they were able to track it back to Russia. They didn't specify if they knew anything further than that.
Okay.
But it was a really interesting talk.
Yeah, it sounded like
there were a couple points things that he said, which I was very surprised by.
So it was Ashcroft giving the talk?
Yeah.
Really? I've not been very impressed by Ashcroft's, but that was
I haven't either, but when he gets up and he says, if you look at politics and you see that you've got people on different sides of the aisle,
or Ash Carter, I'm sorry, it's Ash Carter,
yeah,
not Ashcroft.
Fighting and not getting anything done, that's something we can't do. We have to be able to work together, and this let's combat each other and fight over picky stuff is going to hurt the U.S. in the long run.
Oh yeah,
we have to work together if we're going to make ourselves safer.
But everybody knows that.
Yeah, but to hear somebody in that position
don't
say
argue
it,
about the cybersecurity law I want to pass.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, good point. Interesting. So I'm going to read that story more, and I'll pick your brain more about that talk because it sounds like there's a few clips I should grab from that.
Yeah, there's definitely a few.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to put to bed some speculation. I don't know if this is officially putting it to bed, but one of the things people said is maybe it'd be worth spending $10,000 on that crazy Apple Watch if next year you could put a new system on a chip in there, so you could upgrade the CPU and the memory, keep the gold housing, and put the latest and greatest processor and stuff in there. Yeah. So iFixit did a teardown, and I'm no expert, but I was just looking through their teardown here, and you have to rip everything out to get to the system on a chip. Literally everything comes out, the battery, and then the sensors, and I think this is really the killer. The sensors for like the heart rate monitor and stuff, and like the vibrator, that's the little back and forth thing that vibrates. They're soldered to the bottom of that system on a chip. Yeah, those connectors are soldered. So when you pull out that system on a chip, you have to break that. And so to me, see that right there?
Yeah.
That to me means you can never replace that system on a chip. So if you are buying a $10,000 Apple Watch, it's going to be stuck at that CPU speed.
You probably could if you used like a hot air rework station or something like that to be able to actually lift the chip off and then put it back on. But that's something that a lot of people aren't going to have.
Well, and do you think Apple would be willing to do it at scale?
Well, I think Apple would just say, send your watch in and we'll redo it. And really, they just send you a new one.
Yeah.
That's probably what they would do.
Yeah, you're probably right. Now, what was that on?
Well, at that price point, wouldn't it make more sense to just build a custom watch that had a modular type case kind of thing?
Oh, you'd think so.
Like $10,000 is enough to get a custom watch made.
I still think that this
a modular watch, and I'm trying to remember where I saw it, but it was like using headphone connectors in the wrist strap, and the whole thing was modular.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. For me, I still think that this watch is nothing more than a status symbol, and they know it. Because, you can go around and say, look, I spent that on this watch.
If you're spending that kind of money, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, then one last little just watch thing, because I know you guys don't care too much, so just make it real quick. Samsung's next watch is rumored to be round, and you know what? After playing around with Alex's Samsung gear, I think it's pretty. I have the LG Watch R, but Samsung's got a camera, it's got a microphone, it's got a speaker. It's pretty nice, and round is pretty slick. I'd be curious to see what Samsung could do with this, and they're going to roll out a full SDK with it as well. So we'll probably be hearing more about wearables coming from Samsung.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my Rufus cuff to come.
Your Rufus cuff?
My Rufus cuff. You know about that, don't you?
It's a watch that's a cufflink or something?
No, it's a 3.2-inch square screen.
Okay.
And it's on a band, and it mounts right on your arm.
Well, how do you spell
RUFUS CUFF.
All right. Rufus cuff.
So like it mounts
The
like up
Kickstarter
under,
was
like,
actually-
bicep?
This is cool.
The Kickstarter was last year. And
or
I
Indiegogo,
believe,
it looks like.
Yeah, Indiegogo. I believe it's supposed to ship July, I believe, is the last update I got.
How do you hear about this cool stuff? You always hear about this cool stuff. Look at that.
Somebody just sent me a link that I know.
That looks like something out of Star Trek.
Yeah. And it's running, at least last year they were saying it was going to run full KitKat. At this point, I don't know if it's going to run Lollipop or not.
That is pretty neat.
But it's
at
everything right there.
Let's see if their little Indiegogo here plays. The watch was invented in 1812. We've crammed it in calculation sensors and touchscreens. All in attempts to make it smart. To us, smart means rethinking things. I want to jump ahead. I want to see it. Come on, I want to see it. Oh, yeah. So it's a full-on band with just a... Oh, actually, you know what?
It contours directly like to your arm.
That might be doable. Look at that.
Hey Travis, what's up?
Hey, I'm in traffic. Just meet you there. Cool?
No problem.
So it's slightly smaller than a smartphone strapped to your wrist.
Basically, yeah. But it's a full smart. It's not like, okay, we're going to do a watch and we're going to give it this or this or this. It's a full Android experience. They're working on a way to link it directly to your phone. So what you do
I like
on
the
that
upside
is
down hold.
directly. Yeah, you can do it on either. Because I always actually wear my wrist or my watch upside down.
Yeah, that is nice. So it will. I noticed that, and so it'll sync to your phone and over Bluetooth 4.0. It looks like.
Yep.
And Wi-Fi, huh? And it can also connect to Wi-Fi itself directly if you don't have a smartphone.
Yeah, it's a nice little device. I'm looking forward to getting it.
Huh, pretty cool. The Rufus Cuff. I'll put a link to that in the show notes if you guys want to check that out after the show. That's pretty neat. Hey, we are posting, well, not frequently, but from time to time, exclusive behind-the-scenes videos over on our Patreon feed, just for the patrons that support the Jupiter Broadcasting Network over at patreon.com/today. Like that video we played a little bit of today, we posted that up there last night on our way down. I actually posted it in the car.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, look at me, I'm making a Patreon video while I drive. Well, actually, Noah drove, but I was in a car, driving down the freeway at roughly safe speeds.
Roughly.
For periods of time.
Momentarily.
Yes.
Yeah.
And posting Patreon videos. And those of you over there, the 477 of you, help keep this network independent and focused on the audience.
We actually just went up, didn't we? Because I believe earlier this week it was still at 3.
475.
Yeah.
It was 475 earlier this week, so we got a couple. And they got access to not just the brand new video we posted yesterday, but all of the previous behind-the-scenes videos over at patreon.com/today. Thanks, you guys, for supporting the network as we approach Linux Fest Northwest. It really does mean a lot to us. So we have an end of show video that Imacon, who's been like our YouTube master for the last week, found. And did you ever mess around with OS2 back in the day?
No, I did not.
No.
No.
Okay. I had a very, very limited experience with OS2. My experience with OS2 was from the standpoint of a mainframe, and I didn't use OS2 directly, but the mainframe that we ran was I believe, I might be getting this completely wrong, but I believe it was an IBM System 390. Ooh. And yeah, I think that was what it was called. And back then, you had to have a 486 to control the System 390. So you didn't interface directly because the mainframe was holy, right? The mainframe was holy, so you don't dare interact directly with the mainframe. Not you as some average lowly user. No, you must first interact with the command computer. Oop, hold on, you're jumping the gun. You must first interact with the command computer, which is built into a cabinet built into the mainframe. So there's a 486 computer in a cabinet built into the mainframe that you control the mainframe from with OS2 applications. And this is this is as late as like 2004, 2005.
Right.
So this is pretty recent stuff. And so OS2 is definitely still around today. But there was a period of time where IBM and Microsoft were teamed up, and it would look like this was going to be the future of desktop operating systems, at least in the business. And so this is an old IBM OS2 ad from somewhere around the 92, 93 timeframe. So this is like, before Windows 95, before Windows 3.1.1. Here you go.
Not all.
Oh, one more thing before we go. Join us live. If we have a live stream on Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be under Linux.
Yes.
Linux powered.
It's the first time, isn't it?
I think it's the first time we've done one from a fest on location. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever done a live stream from a fest on location using OBS.
I don't think so.
I think it'll be the first time ever. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
jblive.tv Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll be back here on Tuesday for a brand new version and edition of the Tech Talk program, techtalktoday.reddit.com. All right, and with that, we'll leave it. See you back here next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Not all personal computer operating systems give you your best shot. Some will do several things at once, but not always. Chalk one up for IBM's Advanced OS 2. It runs any number of programs simultaneously, seamlessly, safely. Get more work done. Power up any IBM compatible like the new Ambra 486s with OS 2.